Senze vertical projectile motion part 1 njengamanje. Welcome to isinamuvatutoring YouTube channel. Kusase uye kuPeter. So vertical projectile motion iyazisho kukhulunywa la ngemotion vertical projectile. So a projectile is an object upon which the only force acting is the force of gravity. So any object acts with force of gravity kuphela siyibiza ngeprojectile. And then emotion yayo ke leyo object projectile ibizwa nge-free fall. So a free fall motion of an object falling under an influence of gravitational force only. So if free body diagram kuyayenza sense ukuthi kube u-FG kuphela force esinayo. Remember, an object accelerates in the direction of the net force. Usho kanjalo Newton's second law. So that's why ubone free body diagram yakhona ku-FG eyaphansi kuyiyo kuphela. So ngamanye amazwi njengoba sithi an object accelerates in the direction of the net force, kusho ukuthi i-projectile yethu since i-net force yayo ku-FG because FG iyo kuphela i-force actayo, kusho ukuthi i-object izo-accelerator due to gravity. So i-projectile accelerator downwards all the time. Nanoma ngabe iya phezulu i-projectile yethu kodwa thina sithi accelerator downwards because i-object accelerator in the direction of the net force, and the net force yethu in this case u-FG kuphela because FG is the only force e-actayo. Remember, kwa grade 4 basifundisile ukuthi if i-object accelerator due to gravity kusho ukuthi ine gravitational acceleration a constant. Gravitational acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, direction downwards. So mabethi write down the acceleration of an object and the leyo object leyo projectile, kusho ukuthi uzobhala ukuthi 9.8 meters per second squared downwards. Remember, acceleration vector quantity, so kuzomela ubhale magnitude yayo ubhale ne direction yayo. So 9.8 meters per second squared downwards mabethi ibhale acceleration. Kodwa mabethi bhala i-magnitude of the acceleration sebe specific manje kuyo le vector yethu bafuna i-magnitude kuphela. Mabethi write down the magnitude uzothi 9.8 meters per second squared, ungambhala downwards because ba specific bafuna i-magnitude. So emotion ye-projectile although kuyi-vertical motion but masi representa kwi-drawing siyi-representa ibe parabolic njengoba ubona lo mlungu edrawer lapho. So as i-object yaphezulu, very important ukuthi uyazi leyo nto. As i-object yaphezulu, i-velocity decrease. Remember njengoba iyaphezulu khona i-force and the only force ilokhu iyiphula down. Remember FG uphula izinto down. So njengoba iyaphezulu khona i-force elokhu ithi wena buya phansi, buya phansi, buya phansi, buya phansi. So ngaleyo ndlela ayikwazi kuya phezulu freely because khona i-force eyidonsayo. So ngaleyo ndlela i-velocity ye-object iya-decrease as iyaphezulu. So mayi-decrease sengiyiphose ngo-5, kuyacaca ukuthi izothi 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Izofika lapho khona i-velocity eba u-0. Lapho khona i-velocity ewu-0 siyibiza nge-maximum height leyo ndawo leyo. Lapho khona i-velocity ye-projectile u-0. So i-object iyakhuphuka iphezulu ize reach maximum height. Ayisakwazi kuya ngaphezulu kwe-maximum height. U-maximum kusho ukuthi phezulu ekugcineni. Isizoqala ke yenze njani object yethu ishintshe direction. Iya down. So as iya down, remember khona u-FG lokhu uthi woza phansi wena, woza phansi. Kanti nayo vele iya kuphi? Iya phansi. So ngaleyo ndlela kusho ukuthi i-velocity izo increase because vele iya phansi object and then FG uyayisiza futhi ukuthi iyenze njani iye phansi kakhulu. So kumele wazi ukuthi all the time mabekhuluma nge-maximum height already unayo i-velocity yakhona e-maximum height. I-velocity yase-maximum height u-0. Njalo izohlezi u-0, ayenzeki mistake. Into kumele uyazi enye about emotion ye-projectile ukuthi if iyasuka ku-point A iyakhuphuka iyaphezulu i-reach maximum height and then ibuye kuyu-point A or u-point B, i-point eliqondane no-A, i-velocity isuke ifana lapho. So mangathiwa mhlambe i-object isuka esandleni sakho uyayiphosa phezulu isuka ngo-5 esandleni sakho, mayizobuyela esandleni sakhe izobuya ngo-5 kodwa u-5 wakhona uzobe to the opposite direction. So into engizama ukisho ukuthi i-velocity ka-A laphana kwi-diagram yethu ne-velocity ka-B ziyafana. The only difference ukuthi eka-A neka-B zinama-sign angafani. So if eka-A positive kusho ukuthi eka-B i-negative but ziyafana. So ulaleleke nanoma ufunda i-statement nanoma ukuma problems ukuthi okay i-object iyasuka maybe from i-roof and then my return to i-roof on its way down kusho ukuthi mayisifika kwi-roof izobe ine-velocity efanayo nale esuke ngayo kwi-roof isaya phezulu. Into kumele uyazi ukuthi if i-object iyasuka from wherever iye maximum height bese isuka e-maximum height i-return to i-starting point, isikhathi esiyithathile from beyiphosa to i-maximum height siyafana nesikhathi from i-maximum height to lel point abayiphose kulo. So i-time symmetry leyo nto leyo niyakhumbula ngithi ama-properties we-parabola kahle kahle enzekayo la. Axis of symmetry remember kwenzakalani ngawa ngithi. So if i-object isuka ku-point A uya ku-point B being the maximum height kusho ukuthi isikhathi sokusuka ku-point A uya ku-point B siyalingana nesikhathi sokusuka ku-point B from the maximum height to point C, the point of projection. Angazi noma niyayithola leyo nto leyo. So ngamanye amazwi uma bengakunikeza isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-C bethu 10 seconds kusho ukuthi isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B u-5 seconds, isikhathi sokusuka ku-B uya ku-C u-5 seconds futhi. So mangathiwa unesikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B ku-20 seconds kusho ukuthi isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-C u-40 seconds. So must perform ama-calculations, remember sidila nama-vectors kule chapter. So ngaleyo ndlela kumele ukwazi ukuchoose i-direction ngendlela e-right. So if uthatha u-up as positive, remember i-gravitational acceleration is always downwards. So mangithatha u-up as positive kusho ukuthi i-gravitational acceleration is opposing emotion yethu. So i-gravitational acceleration izoba negative. And remember i-gravitational acceleration is a constant, meaning once yaba negative izoba negative throughout regardless of direction of motion. Once isachuza u-up as positive nanoma ngabe into ethi yaphezulu i-acceleration is negative, nanoma ngabe i-object ethi yaphansi i-acceleration yethu i-negative, nanoma ngabe i-object ise maximum height i-acceleration yethu i-negative. So ngichoose up as positive mina always ngize ngimjwayele ukumsebenzisa, and then kwi-exam mabethi ngimchoose as negative sengiyazi ukuthi ngishintsha yonke lento engiyaziyo ngenze opposite yayo. So mawuthatha up as positive into yokuqala kumele uyazi acceleration yakhe izoba negative njalo. And then asithathe no up as positive ke and i-object yethu iyaphezulu. So if iyaphezulu i-object yethu asibheke nama-vectors wethu ke the initial velocity izoba positive because i-object iyaphezulu and thina sithatha u-up as positive, so as I oppose motion izoba positive. The final velocity izoba positive ngoba sithatha u-up as positive and the object iyaphezulu izoba positive or ibe u-0 if izoya phezulu ize iyo-reacha i-maximum height. Remember i-velocity at the maximum height u-0. And then i-change in position yethu and then i-acceleration yethu already sidecidile. Masithatha nje up as positive suke sesidecide ukuthi i-acceleration yethu izoba negative. So i-acceleration izoba negative, i-object isaya phezulu even nanoma isiya phansi kodwa because i-constant. Into eyi-constant ayishintshe. So sino negative 9.8 meters per second squared for i-acceleration. U-delta y wethu uzoba positive because i-object isaya phezulu and sithatha up as positive. So u-delta y uzoba positive kanjalo. And then u-delta t, remember isikhathi is a scalar quantity, so sizoba positive isikhathi, asikwazi ukuba nesikhathi esi-negative. Now i-object isiya phansi manje kusho ukuthi iya in the opposite direction. Remember sithatha up as positive, so ama-vector kuzomele ebe negative. So initial velocity izoba negative if usithatha up as positive kusho ukuthi i-velocity yethu iya in the opposite direction izoba negative mayisiya down i-object, or ibe u-0 if the object is from the maximum height. Remember maximum height velocity u-0, so if emotion yethu siyiqala from a maximum height going down the initial velocity there is 0. Kwenye futhi scenario lapho khona i-velocity yethu ikwazi khona ukuba u-0 is when the object is dropped. So once bathi nje ku statement the object is dropped uhlala wazi ukuthi usunayo i-velocity iu0 velocity yakhona, the initial velocity. And then i-object yethu remember isiya phansi in the opposite direction because thina sithatha up as positive. So uVF uzoba njani? Uzoba negative. U-A because uyi-constant uzoba negative throughout because sithatha up as positive. So A wethu is negative 9.8 meters per second squared. Remember siyayazi value ka-A throughout. U-delta Y, i-object yethu iya phansi in the opposite direction. Thina sithatha up as positive. So u-delta Y wethu uzoba negative naye. And then u-delta T uzoba positive. Remember time is scalar quantity and isikhathi asikwazi ukuba negative. So u-delta T wethu uzoba positive always. Make sure ukuthi uyayi-understanda lento le if uchoose ukuthatha up as positive. Okay, so sebenzisa ama-equations of motion to calculate whatever abazothi si-calculate between the initial velocity, the final velocity, time, and the change in position, u-delta Y. Mina ngisebenzisa ama-formula u-3, lele lesi-4 kuma-equations of motion angilisebenzise, ngizama ukuyihafulela ama-options. So uma unama-options amancane, kuba lula ukuthi u-decide ukuthi okay, iliphi i-formula engilisebenzisayo. So uma yeba u-4, senginama-formula amaningi engizochoose kuwo, sengigcina ngisazi ukuthi ngichoose liphi. Ngilisusile leliya because alinayo acceleration and acceleration isihlezi sinayo kwi-projectile 9.8 meters per second squared. So ilokuqala ungakwazi ukucalculate isikhathi noma i-velocity. Elesi2 ungakwazi ukucalculate u-delta Y noma i-velocity. And then elesi3 ungakwazi ukucalculate u-delta Y noma isikhathi noma i-initial velocity. But kakhulu lisebenza uma ucalculate initial velocity no delta Y elesi3. Elesi2 lisebenza kakhulu uma ucalculate i-velocity noma yena ku-delta Y. Ama-equations of motion kumele ukwazi ukuwasebenzisa. Thatha i-statement abakunikeze sona and then uya-check ukuthi iliphi i-formula eli-suitable ngokuthi u-check ukuthi bathi calculate ini. Obvious uma bethi calculate isikhathi, i-formula lesi2 alisakwazi ukusebenza unless kumele kube khona into oyitholayo kuqala before khani uzofuna isikhathi. Maybe say bekumele uqala uthole i-final velocity before uzokwazi ukucalculate isikhathi, ungakwazi ukulisebenzisa. But uya-check-a nje ukuthi information abakunikeze yona yinani, so ungakwazi ukusebenzisa inani. So ku-very smart ukuthi uma bekunikeza whatever scenario, especially if i-object izoqala iyojika maximum height and then ibuyize phansi. Ku-very smart ukuthi ukwazi ukuhlukanisa emotion yakho into different segments. Kusho ukuthi if i-object yakho maybe isuka ku-point A ihambe ku-point D phansi, so from i-roof to phansi kwi-ground. Wena zama ukuhlukanisa emotion yakho into segments because uma uyihlukanisa into segments ukwazi ukuba ne-information eningi ebalulekile oyaziyo. So uma izosuka ku-A iye ku-D, uma uzoyihlukanisa wena uthi from A to B because uyazi ukuthi at point B une-velocity ewu-0, into ebalulekile leyo. Uphinde uyihlukanise from B to C, uyazi ukuthi une-information eningi ebalulekile. Ku-B uyazi ukuthi initial velocity u-0 noma i-velocity u-0. Ku-point C uyazi ukuthi i-velocity ka-C iyafana ne-velocity ka-A but kuzohluka ama-sign, meaning in the opposite direction. Uphinde uyihlukanise futhi from C to D because uyazi ukuthi i-velocity at C futhi iyafana vele ne-velocity at A but in the opposite direction. And then to D, i-velocity ke ku-D i-velocity strike ngayo i-ground. Another thing ozoyazi if uyihlukanisile emotion kanje into segments, uzokwazi ukuthi isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B siyafana nesikhathi sokusuka ku-B uya ku-C. Into ebalulekile okumele uyazi leyo. So isikhathi se-entire motion, emotion yonke ye-object kusho ukuthi isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-D, or isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B plus isikhathi sokusuka ku-B uya ku-C plus isikhathi sokusuka ku-C uya ku-D, or isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B plus isikhathi sokusuka ku-B uya ku-D. Ihamba kanjalo. So izinto ezibalekile lezo okumele uzazi. Another thing ngikhulume nge-maximum height. Ngathi maximum height i-point lapho khona i-velocity iwu-0. Enye into futhi maximum height iyi-height ekwazi ukureachwa i-object. So mase iphosa from i-roof, i-object ikwazi ukuphakama izifike ku-point B, meaning u-point B is the maximum height. Ayisakwazi ukudlula ku-B. So ukusuka ku-A uya ku-B is the maximum height reached by an object above the point of projection. So mayisuka ku-A ya ku-B, mawucalculate u-delta y wokusuka ku-A uya ku-B, ucalculate maximum height reachwe i-object. Kunomehluko-ke la ziwu-2 lezinto lezi. Khona i-maximum height reached by an object, khona i-maximum height reached by an object above the ground. So i-ground angithi uyayibona at point D. So mabethi calculate the maximum height reached by an object, uzocalculate u-delta y ka-AB or ka-BC kuyafana. Mabethi calculate the maximum height reached by an object above the ground, sebe specific manje, the maximum height reached by an object above the ground. Kusho ukuthi ucalculate u-delta y ukusuka ku-A uya ku-B and then add ne-height ye-building, meaning uzobe usune-maximum height above the ground because i-ground ilapha phansi at point D and then i-maximum height at point B. So kahle kahle fana nokuthi bathi calculator i-height from B to D ngamanye amazwi. So i-maximum height above the ground it's either uzocalculator i-height ka-AB, delta y ka-AB, add ne-height ye-building, or uzocalculator i-height ka-BC, ucalculate i-height ka-CD uba add, or uzocalculate i-height ka-BD, yiyo le maximum height above the ground. Nenze sure ukuthi ne understand the question lapho. Maximum height above the ground or maximum height reached by an object kunomehluko lapho. Mabethi above the ground kuzomela u-add. Into ebaluleke kakhulu kule chapter le ukuthi mabekunikeza i-statement ukuthi bakunikeze ama-velocity awu-2, akusho ukuthi lawo ma-velocity lawo azosebenza kunoma yiphi question abayibuzayo. Mabekunikeza isikhathi akusho ukuthi leso sikhathi sizosebenza kunoma yiphi question abayibuzayo, nanoma bekunikeze u-delta y akusho ukuthi uzosebenza noma ikuphi. Njengokuthi bazothi bona i-object isuka at point A ngo-5 meters per second and then strike i-ground at D ngo-8 meters per second, and then bethi calculator isikhathi sokusuka from point A uye maximum height, from the roof to the maximum height. Wena usuthini iformula lokuqala lithi Vf equals to Vi plus A delta T, vele ngine-velocity at point ewu-5 ngizothi initial, and then ngine-velocity ewu-8 ngizothi final, ayihambi kanjalo. Wena into okumele uyenze ukuthi okay, njengoba ngicalculate mina isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B, kusho ukuthi mangidecide ukusebenzisa ama-velocity kuzomele kube i-velocity ka-A ne-velocity ka-B because ngicalculate isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B, not just any velocity, not just any whatever. So if ngidecide ukusebenzisa iformula no-delta y ngifuna ukucalculate isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B, angisebenzisi noma imuphi u-delta y, kuzomele kube u-delta y ukusuka ku-A uya ku-B because ngicalculate isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-B. Angazi noma niyi-understanda lento engiyishoyo. So if bengicalculate isikhathi sokusuka mina ku-A uya ku-D, bekuzomele ngibe nani ne-velocity ka-A neka-D because ngicalculate isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-D, hayi noma yiphi velocity. Because mangithatha noma yiphi velocity angisacalculate lento abangitshela yona ukuthi banginikeza i-velocity kwi-statement akusho nix if leyo velocity ingangisizi. So mabe ngathi bona calculate isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-C bese ngidecide ukusebenzisa iformula lama velocity, kuzomela kube i-velocity ka-A neka-C because ngicalculate isikhathi sokusuka ku-A uya ku-C, kanjalo kanjalo. U-delta y kubaluleke kakhulu ku-delta y, uye ngizokhuluma ngaye after la u-delta y awuvele nje ufake noma yini, ufake noma yimuphi udelta y, ufake noma yiphi sign ka delta y. Kumele ube very careful on udelta y, njengoba ngiqeda ukukutshela manje ukuthi ube careful on ama velocity, awufaki noma yini. Umbuzo oyibuza wona mawuphendula iquestion ukuthi i-information abanginikeze yona eyakuphi nakuphi, mina ngicalculate into yakuphi nakuphi. If lezo zinto ziya corresponda zo2 kusho ukuthi right uyaqhubeka. Okay, with udelta y, remember udelta y is a change in position, so i-vector. So kuzomela ibe ne-direction. If iya up i-object, say from point A to point B, udelta y wethu uzoba positive because isithathu up as positive. Njengoba ubona udelta y wethu e-positive. And then if iya down from B to C, udelta y wethu uzoba negative because isuka phezulu iya phansi and thina sithathu up as positive. If iya down from C to D, udelta y wethu uzoba negative because iya down and thina sithathu up as positive. Into okumele uyinothise-ke about udelta y ukuthi udelta y okusuka ku-A uya ku-B uyafana nodelta y okusuka ku-B uya ku-C, but in the opposite direction. So udelta y okusuka ku-A uya ku-B upositive, udelta y okusuka ku-B uya ku-C unegative, kodwa bayafana ama-magnitudes wakhona. So if besikhuluma ngodelta y of the entire motion, kusho ukuthi from point A to the ground, udelta y wayo yonke leyo nto kahle uzoba udelta y from A to B plus delta y from B to C plus delta y from C to the ground. But into inotisayo ukuthi udelta y from A to B and udelta y from B to C, omunye positive omunye negative, so bazokhanselana. In that way udelta y we entire motion isogcina sele nobani no delta y from C to D. Ngamanye amazwi njengoba i-object isuka ku point A iyojika maximum height ku point B and then ibuye iye ku ground, udelta y of the entire motion kugcina kuba i-height ye building because lezi engaphezulu kwe-building u-AB and BC bayakhanselana, bayafana in the opposite direction. So when into ozoyi-check-a ukuthi in this scenario if i-object isuka kwi-roof ya kwi-ground, udelta y of the entire motion uzoba positive or negative, uzo-check ukuthini izomkhava on its way up or on its way down. So in this case imkhava udelta y lo okuzobe kuyi-height building imkhava on its way down because iyasuka ku-A ihambe ku-B ifike ku-C siyaqala kumkhava on its way down from C going down ikhava udelta y loya ongakhanseleki, so meaning the delta y of the entire motion. So ngaleyo ndlela udelta y entire motion uzoba negative because imkhava on its way down and thina sithathu up as positive. Ningayenzi i-mistake. So if i-object ibizoqala phansi kwi-ground iye kwi-roof, kusho ukuthi udelta y entire motion ebezoba positive because imkhava on its way up, and then laba abawu-2 abaphezulu bazokhanselana, laba above the roof ngoba bayafana but in the opposite direction. So udelta y entire motion lo. Ningayenzi i-mistake all the time mawucalculator, ube very careful. Ivideo elandelayo upart 2 wayo le chapter lena ngizobe ngikhuluma ngama-graphs, ngiye very deep kuma-graphs, nenze sure ukuthi niya-subscribe, niyalakha, niyashare, nisharele wonke umuntu eningakwazi ukumsharela so that nonke nizosizakala niphase.